headed to the one city in the United States that has an even greater hydroplane history, even greater than Seattle's. That city? Detroit, Michigan. A city on the rebound, perhaps best signified by the sparkling twin towers of the Renaissance Center. Detroit, where hydroplane races attract more than 750,000 people each year, and where the sport, years before Seattle discovered it, had its beginnings. So we went to the Motor City to find a bit of history, and that's exactly what we found. Our first stop was here at the corner of Midland and Schaefer, Dewey's Lumberville. Not really a promising place to find an old hydro, we thought, but we soon changed our minds. There on the roof was a hydroplane, all right, a hydroplane that carried one of the most storied names in the history of the sport. In 1956, the boat was the Gale 5, owned by Jack Schaefer and driven by Fred Alter. She was only moderately successful, finishing 21st in the national point standings in 1960, but improving to 8th in 1961. This, you see, for whatever reason, is the second Gale 5. It is the first Gale 5 that most of us remember, winner of the Gold Cup in 1955 and driven by Bill Muncey's arch rival, Wild Bill Cantrell. In 1959, this boat was renamed the Yellow Jacket, and later the Such Crust 4, a Detroit bread manufacturer. In 1961, she lost to Sponson on the Potomac and was purchased by Walt Cade and Joe Dewey for parts. Now her racing is confined to this rooftop. Next stop, a warehouse. In fact, a very big warehouse. Behind this door, we found a record holder, a world record holder, the Miss US 1. This was the second George Simon hydroplane to be called the US 1 and was by far the most successful.
The US 1 coming down now to the right-hand corner in second place.
Driven by Roy Doobie, in 1961, she became the first boat to break 200 miles per hour and has a long list of victories: the President's Cup, the Sahara Cup, the International Cup, the Madison Governor's Cup, and the Will Rogers Trophy. You never know what else you might find in a warehouse like this. There seems to be a little bit of everything, even a second hydroplane. Tucked away in a distant corner, we found another U.S. boat. This one, however, was not a vintage version. In fact, its only claim to fame is that it was the first unlimited to be driven by this guy, Tom DeEath, who drove the Squire Shop to 2 victories last year. Constructed mostly of titanium and steel, the Stars and Stripes Miss U.S., as she was known, was very, very heavy. Built in 1972 by Les and John Stoddicker, the boat campaigned for just one unsuccessful season in 1973. We managed, purely by accident, to find yet another hydroplane tucked away in a forgotten corner. And as you might expect, it was another of George Simon's U.S. boats. This is the US 4, built in 1957 by Henry Lauterbach and driven by Don Wilson. Most of her life has been spent here in this warehouse. In fact, this boat raced for only one season, that being in 1957. Our search for old hydroplanes continues, leading us to another industrial area and to this company, Gale Electric Contractors. Here we found a diamond in the rough. Sitting outside a warehouse among a stack of pipes sits the Gale 5. Actually, the third and last Gale 5. Built in 1958 by Les Stoddicker and driven by Bill Cantrell, Jerry Shaineth, and Rex Manchester, she won the 1960 National Sweepstakes and the International Trophy.
Here comes your 5th place boat, Gale 5, still in the running.
In '61, she also won the Detroit Memorial Race and was second in national high points. Next stop, Belle Isle, a park in the middle of the Detroit River where we found a maritime museum and the Miss Pepsi. Built in 1959, the Miss Pepsi was dynamite. Driven by Chuck Thompson, this boat was the most successful step hole of its time, running sponson to sponson with the slow-mos. A 2-seater, one for the driver and a second for the throttle man, this grand old lady won 6 races in 1951 and 3 in 1952, winning the national championship both years. Off again this time to a small town just outside of Detroit. Lapeer, Michigan, and a hydroplane that few people know about. This twin-tailed dinosaur is the Miss Lapeer, the second turbine boat ever built. Constructed by Les and John Stoddaker in 1973, the boat was plagued with severe handling problems and never raced. In 1973, Fred Alder attempted to qualify the boat at the Detroit National Championship Regatta, but wasn't able to run any faster than 65 miles an hour. Later, the Lapeer was moved into storage, never to run again. Nearby, however, there is another Lapeer boat that not only ran, but ran well.
The fourth-place boat is Miss Spokane, driven by Dallas Sarch, fourth in this heat.
This was the Miss Eagle Electric, and before that, the Miss Spokane, the Lilac Lady. Driven by Rex Manchester, she was second in the 1959 Seattle Seafair race, but sank in 1961 when Manchester flipped it. In 1965, Jim Harrington bought the boat, hired Warner Gardner to drive it, and named it after Lapeer, Michigan. Recently, she was on display at a Lapeer Park, where the boat was badly vandalized. And now the two boats are together at the Lapeer manufacturing plant. Our last stop was under the Detroit Expressway to examine this pile of wood. With a little investigation, we found that this is the Such Crust 4. Built in 1952 and driven by Dan Arena, she was a winner in her first race, the 1952 Pittsburgh Steel Cup. Later, the boat burned, was rebuilt and renamed. In 1960, she was the Thunderboat, and later the Spirit of Detroit. Then in 1973, she was dumped here under the Detroit Expressway.
This boat might look familiar to you. It's the Miss Bardolph. It was a three-time national champion boat. And in fact, I can personally remember that boat. I was awfully young, but I remember seeing it go down the backstretch, and it really gave me the first sensation of the speeds that these boats travel at, and I will never forget it as long as I live. I can see that green dragon going down the back chute, and that's the very boat right there.
Ronnie Mussing.
Yep, Ron Mussing's boat.
Yes.
By the way,